Welcome to our deep dive into Turkey's strategic interests in Syria. Today we'll explore the multifaceted objectives driving Turkey's involvement in the region. For over a decade, Syria has been ravaged by a brutal civil war, a conflict that has claimed countless lives, displaced millions, and destabilized the entire region. Turkey, sharing a long and porous border with Syria, has been drawn deeply into the heart of this crisis, facing a complex web of security threats, humanitarian challenges, and geopolitical calculations. Turkey's involvement in Syria is, first and foremost, about security, about protecting its own citizens from the spillover of violence. And few issues are as viscerally felt by the Turkish government and the Turkish people as the presence of Kurdish groups in northern Syria. For decades, Turkey has grappled with a violent insurgency within its own borders, waged by the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the PKK. The PKK, designated a terrorist organization by Turkey, the United States, and the European Union, has been engaged in a bloody conflict with the Turkish state, marked by bombings, assassinations, and military operations. And from Turkey's perspective, the Syrian civil war has created a dangerous vacuum, allowing Kurdish groups, particularly the YPG, to gain strength and territory just across its border. The YPG, or People's Protection Units, the dominant Kurdish armed group in northern Syria, has been a key ally of the United States in the fight against ISIS. But Ankara views the YPG as inextricably linked to the PKK, essentially an extension of the same organization, posing a direct threat to Turkey's national security. This fear, this existential threat emanating from across the border, has driven Turkey to launch multiple military incursions into northern Syria, targeting Kurdish-held areas. Beyond the immediate security concerns, Turkey's involvement in Syria is also about projecting power, about shaping the political destiny of its war-torn neighbor. The Syrian civil war, with its dizzying array of factions and shifting alliances, has presented an opportunity for Turkey to exert influence, to advance its own interests, and to counter regional rivals. From the early days of the uprising against Bashar al-Assad, Turkey has provided support to various Syrian rebel groups, seeking to bolster the opposition and hasten the downfall of the Assad regime. This support has come in various forms, from providing safe havens within Turkey to channeling weapons and funding to select rebel factions. No conversation about Turkey's role in Syria can ignore the staggering human toll of this conflict. The millions of Syrians uprooted from their homes, seeking safety and refuge wherever they can find it. And no country has borne the brunt of this humanitarian crisis more than Turkey. With open borders and a sense of moral obligation, Turkey has taken in more Syrian refugees than any other country in the world. Millions of Syrians, fleeing violence and persecution, have sought sanctuary in Turkey, straining resources, testing social cohesion, and presenting a monumental challenge for the Turkish government. This massive influx of refugees has had a profound impact on Turkish society, putting a strain on public services, housing, and the economy. As the Syrian conflict enters its second decade, the question of reconstruction looms large. The scale of destruction is staggering, with entire cities reduced to rubble, infrastructure decimated, and the Syrian economy in shambles. And for Turkey, a country with a long history of economic engagement in the region, the prospect of participating in Syria's reconstruction presents both opportunities and challenges. On the one hand, Turkish companies, with their expertise in construction, infrastructure development, and humanitarian aid, are well positioned to play a leading role in rebuilding Syria. This economic engagement serves not only to stabilize the region, to help Syria get back on its feet, but also to create jobs, generate revenue, and open up new markets for Turkish businesses. Turkey's involvement in Syria is ultimately driven by a desire for stability, for a peaceful and predictable neighbor. The Syrian civil war, with its spillover of violence, its refugee flows, and its potential to empower extremist groups, poses a direct threat to Turkey's own security and well-being. But achieving stability in Syria, a country riven by sectarian divisions, foreign interference, and the legacy of a brutal dictatorship, is a Herculean task. Turkey's approach, a complex mix of hard power and diplomacy, has yielded mixed results, achieving some measure of stability in certain areas while exacerbating tensions in others. Turkey's military interventions, for example, have successfully pushed back Kurdish forces and created buffer zones along its border, but they have also drawn international condemnation and raised concerns about civilian casualties. These strategic interests highlight Turkey's complex and proactive approach to the Syrian conflict, balancing security, political, economic, and humanitarian considerations. It's a high-stakes balancing act, one with no easy answers and the potential for unintended consequences. Turkey's involvement in Syria is a story of tough choices, of navigating a treacherous landscape, of trying to protect its own interests in the midst of a regional maelstrom. And it's a story that is still being written with no clear ending in sight. What aspect of Turkey's involvement in Syria interests you the most? The United States views Turkey as a crucial partner in the Middle East for several reasons. Turkey's geographic position bridges Europe and Asia, making it a key player in regional security and stability. Its proximity to conflict zones like Syria and Iraq allows the US to project power and influence in the region more effectively. As a member of NATO, Turkey plays a vital role in the alliance's collective defense strategy. The US relies on Turkey for military cooperation, including the use of strategic bases like Incirlik Air Base. Turkey's efforts in combating terrorism, particularly against groups like ISIS and the PKK, align with US interests in maintaining regional security and preventing the spread of extremist ideologies. Turkey is a significant player in regional energy dynamics, serving as a transit hub for oil and gas pipelines. This helps diversify energy sources and routes, reducing dependency on any single supplier. Turkey's relationships with various Middle Eastern countries, including its ability to mediate conflicts, make it an essential partner for the US in diplomatic efforts to resolve regional issues. These factors underscore why the US values its partnership with Turkey in the Middle East. What aspect of US-Turkey relations interests you the